Once upon a time. The encounter. Introduction to Emilia. Emilia, a young woman in her mid-20s, finds herself at a crossroads in life. After losing her job at a local textile factory due to downsizing, she struggles to make ends meet in the bustling city of Lagos. Living in a modest, one-room apartment she can barely afford, Emilia's days are filled with job searches that yield no results and mounting bills that remind her of her dire financial situation. Her family, residing in a distant rural village, depends on her for support, adding to the pressure. Despite her hardships, Emilia maintains a hopeful outlook, believing that a change is just around the corner. A mysterious meeting. One sweltering afternoon, while sitting on a shaded bench in a crowded market square, trying to escape the relentless heat, Emilia's path crosses with a well-dressed, charismatic stranger. He introduces himself as Mr. Adebiyi. His presence is commanding, yet there is a warmth in his eyes that immediately puts her at ease. Mr. Adebiyi strikes up a conversation, subtly probing into her life and quickly discerning her desperation. He listens with a sympathetic nod, his interest seemingly genuine. As the market buzzes around them, he leans closer and reveals that he may have a solution to her financial woes. The temptation. Mr. Adebiyi describes a unique opportunity that seems too good to be true. He speaks of a secret society known as the Brotherhood of the Fortunate, a group that has mastered the art of extracting generosity from the wealthy through street begging. But this is no ordinary begging, it's powered by ancient, supernatural forces that compel passers-by to give more than they ordinarily would. Intrigued and skeptical, Emilia listens as Mr. Adebiyi explains how this society uses discreet magic to influence the minds and hearts of people. Imagine never having to worry about money again, he whispers, as if reading her deepest desires. Emilia, battling between her moral compass and her desperate situation, finds herself drawn into the allure of easy wealth. Mr. Adebiyi notices her interest peaking and offers her an invitation to meet the society, promising that joining could end all her financial struggles overnight. This first part sets the stage for Emilia's journey into a world where the lines between right and wrong blur under the weight of desperation and temptation, the descent. Embracing the darkness. Emilia's initial reluctance gives way to resignation as she accepts Mr. Adebiyi's invitation and joins the Brotherhood of the Fortunate. Under the dim glow of candlelight in a secluded warehouse, she is initiated in a secret of eerie ceremony that binds her to the group's mystical creed. Taught to feign a plight more tragic than her own reality, Emilia is transformed. Each morning, she dresses in tattered clothes, her face painted with the artful strokes of sorrow, and positions herself strategically at a bustling city intersection. Her cupped hands and mournful eyes soon become magnets for the empathy and cash of unsuspecting city dwellers. The money starts flowing in, far exceeding her wildest expectations. Supernatural influence. As Emilia delves deeper into her role, she begins to notice an unsettling shift in her abilities. Following each ritual attended in the dead of night, where chants and obscure symbols fill the air, her capacity to draw people towards her grows. Passers-by seem inexplicably compelled to give more, their eyes glazing over as they approach, wallets and purses opening as if by some unseen force's command. It dawns on Emilia that she is wielding a power that transcends mere emotional appeal. She is tapping into something ancient and ethereal, manipulating the very will of those she encounters. This power intoxicates her, and for a moment, the thrill of control overshadows her initial trepidation. Moral conflict. However, the allure of newfound wealth and power is soon tarnished by the stark realities of her actions. Emilia starts to recognize faces in the crowd, regular givers, whose eyes carry a heaviness that wasn't there before. One evening, as a young mother with a sleeping child in her arms drops a few notes into Emilia's bowl, Emilia catches a glimpse of worry in the woman's eyes, her thin pulse now even lighter. The sight pierces Emilia's heart, awakening a profound sense of guilt. She begins to question the morality of her actions. Is her financial gain worth the unseen cost to these innocent people? The joy of her initial successes fades into restless nights, haunted by the faces of those she has exploited. This part of the story explores the deepening complexities of Emilia's journey, highlighting the internal struggle between greed and conscience, and setting the stage for her inevitable quest for redemption. The revelation. Visions of consequence. As Emilia continues her charade, the line between her waking life and the dark world she's entered begins to blur. At night, her dreams twist and warp into unsettling visions. She sees the faces of those she has manipulated, their expressions contorted in anguish, their hands shaking as they offer their hard-earned money. One recurring vision shows a small child, alone and hungry, whose mother had given her last coin to Emilia in a moment of weakness. The child's eyes, filled with sorrow, seem to accuse Emilia, silently condemning her for the suffering she has caused. These dreams are not mere figments of guilt, they feel real, as if the spirits of those she has harmed are haunting her, trying to speak to her from the depths of her conscience. Growing doubts. The nightmares soon spill into her waking hours, where every time she walks through the streets, she sees those she's affected in passing. There's a woman whose face once lit up with kindness as she offered her coins, but now the same woman passes by, eyes dull with worry. A man who had once handed over a generous sum now looks gaunt and hollow. The realization strikes her like a bolt of lightning. Each dollar she's taken has come at the expense of someone's well-being, someone's misfortune, someone's sacrifice. Emilia can no longer deny the truth. The riches she has accumulated are soaked in the misery of those who have crossed her path. The weight of the deception grows unbearable. Her once powerful influence now feels like a curse, each act of manipulation a thread in a web that binds her to a life of guilt and shame. She begins to question how much longer she can continue to live with this haunting, uncertain of where it will all lead. Her doubts start to chip away at the walls of self-justification she had so carefully built. Encounter with a victim. One fateful day, as Emilia sits on her familiar street corner, a familiar face approaches. It's the young mother from her earlier vision, the same woman who had given her all that she could afford for the sake of helping someone in need. This time, though, her eyes are filled with despair, and her voice trembles as she speaks. You've taken so much from me, the woman says, her hands shaking as she holds up a crumpled photograph of her child. My baby's sick. I couldn't afford the medicine, but I thought I was helping someone who needed it more. But now, I have nothing left. I've given you everything, and my child is still suffering. Please, can you help me? The question is simple, yet it strikes a blow to Emilia's heart that shatters the illusion of justification she had clung to. She had believed her actions were inconsequential, that the money was easy to come by and harmless to others. But this encounter reveals the true cost of her choices. The woman's pleading face, the child's photograph clutched desperately in her hands, it all becomes too much for Emilia to bear. In that moment, she realizes that her wealth has been built on the destruction of lives, and that her powers have come at the cost of innocence and compassion. This encounter marks a turning point for Emilia, a moment that will ignite her quest for redemption. The revelation of the pain she has caused sets her on a new path, one where she must confront the darkness she has embraced and face the consequences of her choices, the crisis. Seeking redemption. Emilia's mind is in turmoil. The vision of the desperate mother, the suffering faces that haunt her every step, it all crashes down on her with an intensity she can no longer ignore. As the weight of her actions presses down, she realizes that there's only one way to make things right, to leave the society and undo the damage she has caused. But fear holds her back. The society's reach is vast, and their influence over her is powerful. Betraying them could mean dire consequences, not just for her, but for those she cares about. They have eyes everywhere, and she knows that once she steps away, there will be no turning back. Despite the paralyzing fear, Emilia can no longer ignore the gnawing need for redemption. The guilt and darkness surrounding her are suffocating. She begins to look for a way out, secretly researching any means that could help her break free from the society's grasp. But each attempt feels futile. The more she searches, the more she feels like a trapped animal, unable to escape its cage. Still, the thought of continuing down this path, of further hurting innocent people, is unbearable. She knows that she cannot continue this way. A powerful ally. One evening, as Emilia walks through a quiet park near her usual corner, she feels an unusual presence. The hairs on the back of her neck rise, and a strange sense of unease settles in her chest. It's then that she notices an elderly man standing in the distance. His appearance is unremarkable, dressed in simple robes, his hair and beard long and white, but there's something about him that draws Emilia in. His eyes are sharp and knowing, and despite his age, there's an energy about him that seems to vibrate with power. As he notices her watching him, his gaze softens, and he approaches her with a quiet, serene confidence. "You are troubled," the old man says, his voice gentle yet filled with an undeniable strength. "The darkness weighs on your soul. I can feel it, and I know its source. You've given yourself over to forces you cannot control." Emilia feels a chill run through her. She has never spoken to this man before, yet his words cut through her like a blade. "How do you know?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. She's suddenly afraid of what he might know about her, about the society she's been a part of. The man smiles faintly. "I have been watching for a long time. The powers you've tapped into are not of this world. They consume those who use them for their own gain. You are not beyond saving, but you must first acknowledge the consequences of your actions." Emilia's heart races. He's right. She knows it deep down. But how can she escape the clutches of the society that has manipulated her so thoroughly? How can she break free from the invisible chains that bind her? "You must find the courage to release yourself from their grip," the old man continues, his eyes piercing through her. "Only then will you be able to heal." The decision. That night, as Emilia lies awake, the old man's words echo in her mind. She can no longer deny the truth. She has become a pawn in a deadly game, a mere instrument of the society's twisted desires. The rituals, the manipulation, they were never meant to empower her, but to consume her, to twist her into something she never wanted to be. The life she thought she was building, the wealth she had amassed, it all rings hollow in the face of the suffering she's caused. She can't stay in the society any longer. She can't live in the shadows of their lies. Emilia knows that the only way to regain her humanity, to make amends for the damage she's caused, is to expose them, to reveal the truth to the world, no matter the cost. It will be a dangerous path. The society will not let her go easily, and they will stop at nothing to protect their secrets. But Emilia no longer cares. The time for fear is over. With a newfound resolve, Emilia makes the decision: she will leave the society, and she will expose their deeds to the light. The road ahead will be filled with challenges and danger, but she knows it is the only way she can truly redeem herself. As she prepares for the fight of her life, she takes one last look at the money she has collected, the fruit of her deceit, and throws it into the wind. The future is uncertain, but at least now, she is free. The escape. Dangerous escape. Emilia's heart pounds as she slips out of her apartment, the door creaking quietly behind her. The weight of the decision she's made is heavy, but there's no turning back now. She has made the choice to break free from the society, to risk everything in order to expose them. Her hands tremble as she gathers the evidence she's painstakingly collected, the photographs, the names, the secret rituals, and hides them in her bag. Each piece is a dangerous weapon, and she knows that the moment the society realizes she's gone, they will stop at nothing to get it back. As she walks down the shadowy street, her every step feels like it could be her last. She's never felt more vulnerable, but she also knows this is the only chance she has to make things right. The streets are empty, but Emilia can't shake the feeling that she's being watched. Every car that passes, every shadow that shifts, feels like a threat. The society's influence is everywhere, and they've been watching her for far longer than she realizes. When she finally meets the spiritual leader in a secluded alley, his expression is grim. "You've made a dangerous choice, Emilia," he says, looking over his shoulder to ensure they are not being followed. "They will come for you, but you have allies now." He takes a deep breath and places a calming hand on her shoulder. It's time to reveal the truth. Public exposure. With the spiritual leader's guidance, Emilia steps out into the public eye, ready to confront the society's dark influence. They have arranged for a press conference, a bold move that Emilia knows could cost her everything. The cameras are rolling, the microphones are set, and the world waits in anticipation. Her heart races as she steps up to the podium, but there is no fear in her. She's past the point of fear now. The truth must be known. As she speaks, her voice steady but filled with emotion, she unveils the full scope of the society's operations. She exposes their manipulation, the supernatural rituals they use to control and deceive, and the countless lives they've ruined. She reveals the names of key members, the hidden locations of their meetings, and the psychological tactics they use to recruit vulnerable individuals. Each word she speaks is a declaration of war against the shadowy organization that has controlled her life for so long. The reporters are stunned, some skeptical, others horrified by the allegations. But Emilia knows she has done what she must. She has given the world the truth, and now it's up to them to decide what to do with it. Retaliation. But the society will not sit idly by. As Emilia finishes her speech and leaves the conference hall, she feels the weight of their anger bearing down on her. The air around her seems to thicken with an oppressive force, and she knows that the society is coming for her. Their retaliation is swift, and it is violent. That night, as she returns to her apartment, she finds it ransacked, her personal belongings thrown about. Her laptop, the one with the evidence, is missing. The society has sent a clear message: they will stop at nothing to silence her. Panic rises in her chest as she realizes just how far they are willing to go to protect their secrets. She contacts the spiritual leader, who reassures her that this is only the beginning of the fight. "You've drawn the line in the sand," he tells her. "They will come for you, but they can't hide the truth forever." Emilia knows he's right, but the fear gnaws at her. Every shadow feels like a predator stalking her, every phone call seems to carry a hidden threat. She can no longer trust anyone. But she also knows that this is the price of exposing the truth. She has sparked a war, and the society will fight back with everything they have. Determined not to back down, Emilia prepares for what comes next. She can't undo what she started, and despite the danger, she refuses to let them win. The stakes are higher than ever, and Emilia is more resolved than ever to see this fight through, no matter what it cost her. The resolution. Community awakening. The weeks following Emilia's public exposure are fraught with tension and uncertainty, but in the midst of it all, something unexpected happens. The community begins to rise up, rallying behind her. News of the society's manipulation spreads like wildfire, and the public is shaken to its core. People who had once turned a blind eye to the darker aspects of society's influence now see the truth, and they are angry. But they are also determined to make things right. Support comes in many forms: anonymous donations, protective escorts, and local leaders offering to shelter Emilia when she is in danger. Ordinary people, those who had once felt powerless, step forward to defend her, their voices uniting against the society's oppressive grip. Emilia is no longer alone. The weight of the world no longer bears down on her, and she feels the warmth of solidarity filling the spaces where fear once resided. The society may have thought they could crush her, but they underestimated the power of a community awakened to the truth. The more the public learns about the society's dark deeds, the more people distance themselves from them. Slowly, their power begins to erode, piece by piece. For the first time in a long while, Emilia feels hope stir within her once more. A new purpose. With the society's influence beginning to wane, Emilia is determined to turn her pain into something meaningful. No longer a pawn in their game, she becomes an advocate for those who are truly vulnerable. She works with local organizations, offering her insight into the manipulative tactics the society used to prey on people's insecurities. Emilia helps to establish a support network for individuals who have been manipulated, providing them with resources to rebuild their lives. In the process, she finds a new sense of purpose. No longer driven by the pursuit of wealth or material gain, she is focused on helping others reclaim their dignity and rebuild their lives, free from the chains of deceit. She helps guide those who were once misled by false promises, teaching them about the importance of self-awareness, integrity, and the value of genuine human connection. Through this work, Emilia realizes that the true wealth lies not in money or power, but in the bonds we build with one another. She learns that there is nothing more powerful than a community that supports and uplifts each other in times of need. The darkness she once embraced fades into the past as she discovers her true calling, to bring light to those trapped in the shadows, just as she once was. Epilogue. Years later, Emilia reflects on the journey that brought her to this point. Sitting on the porch of her modest home, she watches the sunset as memories flood her mind. She remembers the fear, the uncertainty, and the deep moral conflict she faced as she fought to break free from the society. She thinks of the people she hurt along the way, and the countless lives forever changed by her actions. Yet, she also remembers the incredible strength she found within herself when she decided to stand up for what was right. As the years passed, Emilia learned that true generosity is not about manipulation or control, it is about selflessness and empathy. She now speaks out about the importance of discernment, the ability to recognize false promises and see the truth for what it is. We must learn to distinguish between the counterfeit and the genuine, she often says in her speeches. True generosity isn't about taking, it's about giving without expectation, offering help to those who truly need it, without strings attached. Emilia's voice, once silenced by fear, now resonates with power and conviction. She has found peace, not in wealth or success, but in the knowledge that she has chosen the right path, a path of redemption, healing, and hope. As she continues her walk, she knows that her journey isn't over, but she is no longer the person she was. The woman who once sought fortune through deception has been reborn into someone who is dedicated to making the world a better place for everyone, one step at a time. And as the sun sets on another day, Emilia smiles, knowing that despite all the darkness she once faced, she has found a way to shine.